Good evening, and thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Tom Keefe. I'm the Director of Environmental Health and Safety for Global Partners LP and Global Companies LLC, which is an operating subsidiary. Related to handling heated products at our Albany terminal. Let me get started by giving you some background on our company and the Albany terminal. We're based in Waltham, Massachusetts, and we're one of the leading distributors of petroleum products, renewable fuels, and biodiesel in the Northeast. In New York, we operate 8 bulk petroleum terminals, 1 being in Albany, 4 down in New Windsor, and then 3 on Long Island. Overall, on average, we distribute petroleum products which heat 46,000 homes a day and fuel nearly 1 million vehicles. We are also a significant supplier of crude oil to refineries in the Northeast. The Albany terminal itself was constructed in the 1920s. Historically, the terminal was operated under various entities, including Mobil and ExxonMobil. We purchased the terminal from ExxonMobil in 2007. The terminal, over the years, has supported a wide variety of operations involving refined petroleum products and lubricating oils. And rail has been an integral part of the operations of the terminal for nearly 90 years. Since purchasing the terminal, we've invested approximately $30 million to upgrade the facility. This included rehabilitating tanks along Route 787, upgrading the rail infrastructure within the terminal, and installing and upgrading emission controls. Due to our success, we've been able to increase from 8 employees to over 30. We're permitted to handle a wide variety of petroleum products, including gasoline, diesel fuel, home heating oil, kerosene, and crude oil, as well as renewable fuels such as ethanol. Products are primarily received by marine vessel at the terminal, and they're distributed by marine vessel, truck, and rail. We just have a kind of an expanded view of the area. You can see our terminal is outlined in the green. The blue area is our rail facility where we take incoming rail shipments. We're bordered to the south by the Port of Albany, and to the north and west by the Kenwood Yard Rail, Canadian Pacific's Kenwood Yard. This is a close-up of the terminal itself. So you can see we've got a barge at the dock here. This is where we receive the marine vessels. The product gets transferred into any one of these tanks. And we ship out at our truck loading rack, as well as our rail rack there. Other products we receive by rail. As I mentioned before, that Kenwood Yard rail facility is right in here. So those products flow in the opposite direction. They come in by rail here, are stored in these storage tanks, and then we load at the same dock onto marine vessels. Our emergency preparedness, we follow a process to ensure that we continuously evaluate potential incidents. First, we identify the risks posed by our operations. Then we coordinate with state, local, and federal agencies, the fire department, and our spill response contractors. We also coordinate with our transportation providers. We then establish procedures to minimize the potential for those incidents to occur and develop a security plan and emergency response plans. Second, we make sure we follow our plans and procedures. We conduct training to meet regulatory and company requirements. and we safely perform our operations. Third, we check ourselves. We monitor our operations to ensure that our procedures are followed. We inspect facilities and equipment on a regular basis, and we conduct drills and exercises to test that our plans are sufficient. We operate in a highly regulated environment, and we undergo regular inspections by the Albany Fire Department, local agencies, the New York State DEC, the Federal Railroad Administration, the Coast Guard, the Environmental Protection Agency, and Homeland Security, under whose jurisdictions we operate. Like the DEC said before, I'd like to stress, because we've been hearing a lot about this, that our responsibility for risk planning is for our terminal, but safety is our top priority. As I said, we're responsible for planning incidents at our terminal, and we're well prepared. We provide rigorous training, including thousands of hours of safety and operations training, and conduct exercises on spill avoidance and response preparedness. Many agencies regulate our emergency response and security planning. The New York DEC, the EPA, Homeland Security, the Coast Guard, and the Department of Transportation. We work closely with all of these agencies, and especially the Albany Fire Department, as well as local agencies, to coordinate our activities, and we submit copies of our response plans to these agencies. Our spill response plans are also reviewed and specifically approved by the Environmental Protection Agency and the Coast Guard. So now I'll give you a background on what our project actually is. What are we seeking to do? The purpose of the proposed project is to heat certain grades of products that we are already permitted to receive, store, and distribute. In addition, the project also seeks to allow us to handle biodiesel. The reason we want to heat products is to make them flow more efficiently. You may think of bacon fat as an example. At cooler temperatures, it's not going to flow well. If you heat it slightly to a warmer temperature, it becomes liquid and it will flow. One of the products we're seeking to heat are certain types of crude oil. Based on some of the comments we've seen through the DEC public comment process, I wanted to go over that a little more. Crude oil is a naturally occurring mix of unrefined hydrocarbons that form underground. Since it's naturally occurring, there are many different grades of crude oil with different characteristics. Some of these grades require that we heat them to make them flow more efficiently. There are three elements to the project: installation of rail offloading areas for heated product, installation of boilers and heaters to indirectly heat products in the rail cars, the pipelines, and the storage tanks, and installation of emission controls in one tank. The heating of petroleum is not uncommon in the petroleum industry. We operate 2 other facilities where we heat products. In fact, there are other facilities in the port that currently heat petroleum products. The proposed system will have 4 boilers which generate steam for heating rail cars and for heating a portion of the piping that runs from the rail car facility to the tanks. This is a simple system. It's 4 boilers which will generate steam. That steam will get circulated to the rail cars. The rail cars have a series of coils within them or in an insulated jacket around the rail cars. And so they indirectly heat the product within the rail car. As that steam heats the product, it'll condense back into water. It flows back to the boiler where it's reheated and turned back into steam and recirculated through the system. The storage tanks and other piping will be heated in a similar manner, but we use a thermal oil system instead of steam heat. You can compare the system to a forced hot water heater in your house. except instead of water, it uses a thermal oil. So the heater heats the oil, and in a similar way, circulates that hot oil through the tank to heat the product in the tank. That oil loses heat, comes back to the heater where it's reheated and recirculated. This is an aerial view of our terminal. I can point out the areas where we're going to have the boilers. We also have a map of this out in the general area. Just to keep you oriented, our vessel dock is here. This is the outline of our facility. This is the rail offloading area. So you can see there the proposed boiler building is there. Those would be the 4 steam boilers. Piping would run along this rail siding to heat the rail cars coming in. And then we would have product piping that runs from the boiler building over to these tanks. The hot oil system will be housed in a building here, approximately that location. And then we have a third oil heater in an existing building down here, which would heat the pipelines, or heat the product in the pipelines coming from the tanks to the vessel dock. As part of the application, we evaluated potential environmental impacts per state requirements and submitted the new long environmental assessment form. DEC reviewed the application materials and determined they were complete, determined the project would not result in a significant adverse impact to the environment, and DEC issued a negative declaration under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. We are committed to participating in a public participation process. New York State DEC as the lead agency leads public involvement activities. Due to community interest, Global has agreed to DEC's request to develop a public participation plan, and the plan is currently under development. Community input will be considered in the plan scope, and comments received through the DEC process and questions collected by local officials will be considered. We've already received many comments. The elements of the plan will include a project website, an information repository, meetings with elected officials, neighbors, and stakeholders, and fact sheets or other informational materials. I want to thank you for the opportunity to participate tonight. I hope this has provided some additional information for you. And we look forward to more opportunities to share information with the public during this process. Thank you.